everybody, and welcome to a first ever trailer reaction by Everything Horror Podcast. And I am Paul Dolsky this evening with two of my favorite people, one other than the lovely fiance,
Tessa Baker,
and the other douchebag of all douchebag. No, I'm joking. The other awesome guy that we always love to have on here,
Tristan. Not.
That's right, Tristan. Not. He will not you to F up. Wait, what? Anyway.
So, listen, we work at the same company. You better watch it.
I know, right? I don't want to do my Mickey Mouse impression on you all the fucking time. So. Anyway, yes, I am feeling better. Thank goodness gracious. So anyway, on board. So tonight we have not only trailer reaction, but we're going to try something a little bit new too. Upon the trailer reaction, we're going to discuss our opinion on 3 different types of topics. And this is going to be very interesting, I think. So, without further ado, let's dive right into that. So, Tessa, what are we going to be talking about that's going to be shaking up the future of gaming pretty soon?
Oh, you mean because of the fact that we're going to be getting consoles as a service on PS5s?
Yes.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Yes. Now, Tristan, I know you're a big PS4 person. Now, what are your quickly first thoughts before we really dive into this? When I first told you about this, what was your initial reaction to this?
That I will never buy a PS5 because it's so expensive just to get the console now, and now you have to pay for the online, the PlayStation Plus, and PlayStation Now. And it's just expensive. It's going to be expensive.
Right. And it's not just PlayStation that's doing this either. It's Xbox as well. Let's start the category off with the Xbox. Now, according to this really interesting article from PlayStation Lifestyle, Microsoft announced that the Halo Master Chief Collection is going to be heading to Steam now. Now, everybody should know that game because, I even remember that game because I fucking hate the game and I hate Bungie. But the point of this is, who would have thunk, yes, I said thunk, that this retarded game was going to now become a keyboard and mouse? I sure the hell didn't. Tristan, what about you?
I'm just dumbfounded with the whole idea. I'm just stumped. It just makes no sense.
Right. And not only will this Halo disaster come to Steam, but they're also talking series such as Uncharted and the famous PlayStation series God of War onto keyboard and mouse. Now,
oh boy,
Tessa, you used to love playing all the God of War, and you haven't played the new one yet. So, what are your thoughts on God of War now coming to possibly keyboard and mouse?
I don't know how I feel about that, honestly, because I've always played God of War with a controller, so I don't know how I feel about it coming to like a PC essentially for like keyboard and mouse. I could probably play it because I have played some games by keyboard and mouse, like Dead Space and stuff like that, but keyboard and mouse can sometimes tend to be more trickier than playing with a controller. It just seems easier.
Right. So it really comes down to why the fuck do you need to buy consoles anymore? Now, just to maybe get somebody else's opinion, Tristan, did you ever play like Uncharted or God of War?
Yeah, I played both of the series, and I think if Uncharted went on Steam and you had to play with a keyboard and mouse, it'd be so awful. It would be such a complicated game to play.
Now why would you say it's complicated? Is it because of all those weird action sequences that we have?
It's more like the environment itself. Like, it's a third-person shooter, but there's also puzzles you have to do. It's like Prince of Persia a little bit, but without the, like, mythical creatures, kind of.
Right. Right. Yeah, I also remember there's some awkwardly weird situations you gotta do too. Where like there was one I believe in Uncharted 2 where you're like up on a pole getting shot at, so you have to like ring around the rosy with the pole and shoot everybody. So it's gonna be really interesting to having to do that. I played some games with some uh keyboard and mouse, but I mean, I know as well Steam also allows controllers for certain games as well. So, I mean, once again, though, that falls into the category of, okay, well, if it's on Steam, I don't actually need to physically buy it because it will just be on Steam on my quote-unquote cloud. Now, babe, now, what do you think of like something like Tristan said, but with God of War? How do you think it would play out with like controls, environment, stuff like that when it comes to keyboard and mouse versus the controller, like with God of War? Because God of War seems to focus and rely on combos and all kinds of stuff. But like I said, we haven't played the new one yet, so I can't really say too much.
I don't know what to say exactly for this because I would rather play the new game first and see how I feel about it. But as far as like if they were to do like keyboard and mouse, I don't know how that would work because in all the games, God of War games I've played in the past, like you had mentioned, the game does rely on button mashing and combos and stuff like that. So it'd be kind of interesting, I guess, to see how it would play out with a keyboard and mouse. But like I said, I don't know how well it would actually go.
Right.
Because it could be one of those games where it shouldn't be a keyboard and mouse type of game.
That's true. Now, a really interesting thing is that on Twitter, there was some tweet going on. I don't really know what the original tweet said, but however, the tweet was saying something about something along the lines of the whole, well, if you don't need to buy consoles anymore because it's going to be do we need to buy consoles anymore because of this weird transformation when it comes to like I mentioned with Uncharted and God of War. And anyway, we have a Game Daily Biz, Amanda, that actually tweeted, and her tweet pretty much sums it up nicely, and that is, honestly, you probably won't need to, meaning buy a console. And Microsoft isn't going to care because their money is in cloud services. Apparently up 24% as of last quarter. And this is going to make, and she put in all capital, bank. We're heading into a service cloud war for attention for the next generation. So instead of, owning it, you're pretty much having it on a cloud with a service. It's really weird. I don't really know how I feel about it because, I just remember a lot of button smashing. There was a lot of weird things going on with Uncharted, and I just don't give a flying fuck about Halo anyway. So, it's weird though because if this is the new generation, which is going to be a gaming service, console, whatever, like Tristan said. So now, not only with Xbox do you have to pay for the Xbox console, a Xbox Live, an Xbox Game Pass, and now you're going to be needing to pay for the service of whatever this new generation is. That's a lot of money. And even though that it seems to be a service that's supposed to have every single game where you can play it with whoever and whenever you want on any type of platform, it seems like. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. And, it's really weird, especially when Xbox has been throwing a lot behind its own Xbox Game Pass. And it was shoring up the Xbox Live services despite declining console sales. The idea is that you can be a part of the Xbox ecosystem from anywhere and on a variety of platforms, not just limited to a single box. And then somebody was also mentioning that if you are skeptical, look back at a blog post from Microsoft. Apparently that was posted last year. And it's about this very thing. And it's in quote, "The future of gaming is a world where you are empowered to play the games you want, with the people you want, whenever you want, wherever you are, and on any device of your choosing." And that was apparently the announcement for Xbox's project called xCloud, which was a cloud-based gaming service, specifically from a hardware of a console. Now, that just seemed, like I said, way too much. Now, but I mean, if we're paying Steam, then that's, I guess, one thing. But if we're talking Xbox and PlayStation, which we'll get into that, I'll get into the PlayStation, but for Xbox, like I just said, you're going to have to pay for an Xbox or really anything, because they're trying to say anything that you buy is not going to have you be limited. But let's just say you need to get an Xbox. You need to get Xbox Live. Now you need to get an Xbox Game Pass. And then you're going to need to pay for maybe the gaming service here for this cloud service thing, if you have to pay for it. That's 4 things right there for Xbox. So my final thoughts on this Xbox topic real quick is I'm not liking the future of gaming at all. And for Xbox players, if you do have to end up paying for these 4 things, the real question is, are you sure you want to stay gaming?
You just took the words right out of my mouth, Paul. I've been considering not playing any video games after the new gen does arrive.
You guys both took the words out of my mouth. Like I've been noticing I've lost interest in gaming almost altogether. Online speaking, and Paul and I barely play any games as is, and pretty much we've been playing hidden objects games lately, or every once in a while dabbling into ESO, but we even did away with ESO Plus because we just don't play it enough. So like you guys were saying, I hate to see what's going to become of gaming when this new generation hits.
This next segment is trailer reactions. So, my first trailer I want to introduce to you guys is, the name is called Cry Havoc.
There's a killer here. Something like you have never seen. They call him Havoc.
Calling all units. There's a policeman inside the perimeter. Find him before he disrupts Havoc.
I used to be afraid of death, but now, with Havoc, I control death. I am its master.
Cry Havoc is a film that's coming out sometime this year. So Cry Havoc is an American horror slasher film directed by Renee Perez and is a fourth installment of Renee's Havoc series. A little brief synopsis I found on horrorpedia.com is that the story is about an ambitious reporter who has an interview with a well-known criminal in a suspicious facility over supposedly having something to do with the release of a serial killer named Havoc. And it's like, it kind of reminds me of any other slasher movie I've seen, but it's a little more graphic and a little more darker than any other film I've seen. So I'm kind of excited to see this.
Yeah. Cry Havoc, from my first impressions of this thing, is, first off, is what the fuck soundtrack am I listening to? The killer looks like a ripoff of Jason or some kind of slasher villain. It seems a bit gun and slash hip hop sort of type of film, where apparently someone can control this guy? And then more as I watched the trailer, I almost thought I was looking at the villain that comes really close to the guy from The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
My thoughts on Cry Havoc were the soundtrack, it does not match the kind of killer it shows. I thought, what the fuck am I listening to? Hip-hop music for a slasher killer. Also, I'm not sure if I like the idea where the killer is being controlled, and I'm not sure how to exactly feel about the film per se.
Yeah, so it's gonna be one of those, I'll maybe wait for it to come out before I really start judging or whatever. So
Yeah, I'm not gonna, put it, make a final
verdict
on it till I watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting film to watch.
Oh yeah. It seems like it would be interesting, but I just didn't know if I would be able to finish the trailer because of that ridiculously weird hip hop going on.
So the next trailer I'm going to introduce to you guys is a film that's coming out this May, and it's called Brightburn.
Whatever you've done, I know there is good inside you.
Who am I? You are a gift. I know it's been difficult for you lately that you feel different from other kids. You are different. After your dad and I got married, we prayed for a baby for so long. We believe that you came here for a reason. He was in the barn.
Did he find it?
No. It was like he was drawn to it.
He may look like us. He's not like us.
So Brightburn is based kind of like Superman's origin story. He's an alien, he falls to Earth, and instead of being a superhero, he's going on a killing spree. So it's kind of like an interesting film to watch.
First glance, I thought that this is no ordinary child, perhaps a space alien or something definitely not of Earth. He has abilities and strength that are not of a human magnitude, is what my first initial thoughts were when I watched this trailer.
Yeah, when I first saw the trailer, at first I was wondering if it was some sort of like a burning star child or a kid, because it definitely wasn't a normal child, or it was even weird looking. Like, it wasn't weird looking, I should say. Like Tessa was saying, he seemed to have the different abilities and strengths. Like, an example would be, especially with his strength, is he's like sitting down, I believe trying to eat something, but he's instead biting the fork and bending it just by just having it in his mouth and chewing on it. I think another thing that we kind of saw was like it looked like the kid was lifting up from the ground, and it just.
Oh, what do you mean, like levitating?
Yeah, levitating, and it just looks like it could very well be a great movie, but once again, it's one.
And maybe he has like laser eyes or something, or some kind of telepathic powers because he rips the door like open.
Yeah, and then he like flashes into the person. Yeah.
Yeah, flies.
Yeah. So I guess I'm gonna say I'm gonna be in the same boat of Cry Havoc. Is I will wait for it to maybe come out, but it does look good. It looks better than Cry Havoc for me, that's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely does look better than Cry Havoc. It looks like it makes a bit more sense in some areas, I guess. So it'd be interesting to see how Brightburn plays out. I'd definitely be willing to give it a watch.
They're coming, aren't they?
Who are?
3 of them. Survivors. They can help us.
So how many were aboard?
16.
And you were the only survivors?
We were thinking of exploring the island.
There's nothing out there. Not anymore.
This is a dead isle. We're only here because we've no choice.
Where is everyone? What happened? I have a bad feeling, sir. I want to know what is going on.
It isn't safe.
This is happening again. It's this island. What the hell is going on? You tell me the truth and you tell me now!
Leave now, you mustn't be here.
You leave them be! We have to get off this island.
They won't let me.
The Isle is going to be released sometime next month and is set in 1846 on a remote island off the west coast of Scotland. A heavy storm causes a merchant ship to sink. The film opens up with its 3 survivors rowing through a thick early morning mist. Lost and disoriented, the fog begins to clear and the isle appears before them. Abandoned except for a 4-soul resident, an old harborman, a farmer, his niece, and a young mad woman. The Isle is anything but welcoming. These people clearly haven't seen anyone from the outside world for some time, and their reluctance to help their sailors back to the mainland is evident. Once rested, the 3 men are desperate to return home, but the promised boat never appears. One of the sailors starts to question what happened on the island and why the people abandoned it so quickly. Through his investigation, he discovered that every year around the same date, a tragedy at sea would occur, and young men from the island would perish. When his 2 shipmates meet with fatal accident, the myth of a ghostly siren haunting the island leads him to try and uncover the truth while he battles to save his own life and escape the clutches of the island. I personally think this film looks great. It definitely reminds me of one of my favorite films by Robert Eggers from The Witch. I know a lot of people hated it, but grow the fuck up and
Stop being haters.
Stop being haters because you don't know a good film from a shitty ass motherfucking jump scare film. Now, anyway, since that's out of the way, but we got to remember though the atmosphere and the sounds of that freaking Isle and the soundtrack. It already gave me I need to see this when it comes out.
Automatically, when I watched the trailer, I got the witch vibe from the film, and the setting also kind of reminds me of The Wicker Man, oddly enough, because it's a civilization on an island away from everyone else, and it looks like a film I would enjoy watching. It's got a nice creepy island atmosphere, and I like the sounds and the soundtrack tease that it gave. So overall, I am looking forward to actually seeing this film. It looks like something I would really like, because I myself, along with Paul here, we both like The Witch.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing it myself. Like you said, Tessa, it reminds me of The Wicker Man because it's like kind of like the same basis but a little different. And it's kind of interesting to hear how the soundtrack goes in it because I listened to a little bit of it and it's intriguing to me. And I'm kind of interested to see this movie myself.
Can I ask you a question, Father? Do you know anything about La Llorona?
The Weeping Woman.
It's a folktale.
To some.
Stay in the car, okay? And please don't wake up your sister.
It's your fault! I tried to stop her! Who did you try to stop? La Llorona.
The Curse of La Llorona is expected to be released in April. Should be releasing on April 19th. And the synopsis of this one, just like I forgot to mention that the Isle real quick was probably the longest synopsis I've ever had to read for a film, but it's right out point blank everything. Anyway, the Curse of La Llorona, though. Ignoring the eerie warning of a troubled mother suspected of child endangerment, a social worker and her own small kids are soon drawn into a frightening supernatural realm. Now, when I first saw this movie, I almost felt as if it was a Conjuring vibe for the universe. And funny enough, is yesterday, I believe, and this is March 16th when I saw this, but March 16th, there was an article that came out that actually said that the Curse of La Llorona is actually part of the Conjuring universe. So when I heard that, I said, great. Another film for this universe? Like, don't we have enough already? But, however, upon watching this trailer, I honestly thought it was great. I think it's what we need more in films that go into this made-up... It's something we definitely need in this made-up universe of based on true events, when some of it doesn't seem to be. It's more of a harshed-up, scare, cash grab type universe to me. But La Llorona, the movie itself, this actually looks decent. And I find it that compared to the other shit films that are part of the universe, this movie is gonna probably do the universe justice from the other shit shows that we have seen or had spun off. But they weren't really scary. A lot of people find them scary. I think The Conjuring, in my own opinion, would have been more scarier if we saw the scene with all the lights going off and nothing was really around until near the end, where maybe they were looking at the evidence to really see what was really there, rather than having actors walk around the hallways. I think if everybody here remembers the scene I'm talking about of the first film. But I just find it to be such a wasted opportunity to try to make it scary when all they really did was just throw an actor to make them as the ghost, just to show you that something is walking by, and that's why the pictures are going off, which in my opinion is probably the stupidest thing they could have done. But however, to finish up my ranting, I will probably watch The Curse of La Llorona when it becomes free.
I'm really excited about it. I mean, I like the Conjuring series a lot. And with this being in its universe, I'd like to see it get better as we go along.
Well, my thoughts when I watched the trailer at first glance, I immediately got the Conjuring feel from it, like Paul did. And I'm not sure how to feel about this film yet, to be honest. But seeing as how I've pretty much seen almost all the Conjuring universe films to date, I'm willing to give this one a try just to see if it could do the Conjuring universe justice, like Paul says.
Yes. So my final thoughts on The Curse of La Llorona is, let's just hope it actually does do the Conjuring universe justice, and that it actually is scary.
Yeah, not based off of jump scares. Okay, so first up on my trailer reactions list, I picked out the film The Prodigy.
Watch the silver eye on top of the arm. Just watch. Every time it swings, let's pretend we're unraveling a piece of string, little by little. Let's pretend that piece of string is time, unraveling minute by minute, second by second, going backwards, time slipping away. Everything around you, this house, my voice, your mother, all these things are getting further away. We're going back through your life, back to when you started school, when you first learned to walk, when you were just a baby. Back to the day you were born. Back to the time before this body. I'm no longer speaking to Miles. I'm speaking to the person who has taken residence inside his body. You came uninvited. Tell me if you can hear my voice.
Miles? Miles, what's wrong?
Mommy, I'm scared.
Come here, baby.
The release date for this film is already out. It was released February 8th of 2019. This film also has the same producer from the film Exorcism of Emily Rose. So a little brief synopsis of the film is: a mother concerned about her young son's disturbing behavior thinks something supernatural may be affecting him. So at first glance, when I watched this trailer, it gave me the Omen feel. The reason for this is because I felt like it was kind of like how it was with the Omen, where the boy was taken over by a supernatural force. Not necessarily sure if it's the devil by what I've seen in the trailer, but I've always found horror films that use the elements of children, whether it be sound effects or children as the source of evil, to be quite creepy and unsettling. I have seen that there is a film out with the same film title, but they use a girl instead of the boy, like in this one.
Yeah, upon watching this as well, I figured it was a projection gone wrong. It seemed that this main boy character has multiple eye colors that is going on with Miles. One is like a light blue, another one is like maybe a brown. Kind of hard to tell with the lighting of the trailer, but there's definitely multiple eye colors going on. And I'm gonna have to agree with Tessa about children in horror is normally 10 times better than anything, really. And another film that I really enjoy that used children as villains besides the famous Children of the Corn is the movie from 8 Films to Die For called Wicked Little Things. If you have not seen that, I would suggest definitely looking it up. It used to be on Netflix. I don't know if it's still there. If it's not on there, just definitely try to look around, because Wicked Little Things is a nice little horror movie based off of children being used as villains. However, though, my final thought on the Prodigy would be I would probably watch it, but I really do not know how to feel about the film at this moment.
Well, I'm willing to give it a try. I mean, I'm not 100% positive of how I feel about it, but it seems kind of interesting, even though we've seen the concept before similarly in other films. I wouldn't mind seeing it just to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. It kind of reminded me of another film I've seen, which was Case 36. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but I recommend that very well. But I'm kind of excited to see how this film plays out. You know, it's like one of those films I feel like it's going to be different endings and like kind of mind benders. So it's going to be interesting to like see how this film comes out.
Agreed. Okay, so next up on my list for film reaction trailers, I picked the film The Final Wish.
Mom? Dad?
Ever since I found this thing, I don't know, some weird stuff's been happening.
Hello.
Mom?
You never listened to me!
Did you make a wish?
Aaron, it's a miracle. Your father is home.
The universe demands balance. For there to be life, there must be death.
Aaron! Do you hear that?
In the Bible, they're known as demons. In the Quran, they're called jinn.
The jinn can take any form.
You can't run from this, Aaron. It's gonna follow you.
It gets stronger with every wish.
That's not Dad! That was a demon, Mom. What is wrong with you?
Don't you talk to me like that! What have you done? Be a good son. Make a wish.
I can't.
Die.
Now, this is another film that's already been released. It was released in January 24th of 2019, but it looked kind of interesting to me. So a brief synopsis of the film is: after the death of his father, Aaron returns home to help his grief-stricken mother and to confront his past. Going through his dad's belongings, he comes across a mysterious item that is more than it seems. Upon watching this trailer, my initial reaction at first glance was I felt that this film had some elements of kind of like the Wishmaster. Namely the use of the Djinn, aka Demon Genie. The use of the variety of character faces from this film I found to be very interesting. It piqued my interest immediately when I saw how many familiar faces were in, familiar actors that I've seen in other films all together in this one film. I'm curious to see how well it's going to play out with so many talented actors. I definitely would like to see how the actor that portrayed Candyman does in this film.
Tony Todd.
Yep, because Candyman is definitely one of those movies that's on my list of favorites. I've always liked it, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for people that may have already heard, if not, I did actually do the trailer for a trailer reaction for DK Mag once upon a time, and that was like a while ago too, but I honestly forgot exactly what I first said about it, but to me it kind of seems cool and stupid at the same time. But I will give props to the practical effects of the demon. It looks really well done, and he does look kind of creepy. And let's face it, let's all take a look back at that stupidly retarded demon from Annabelle. At least this one looks better than that piece of shit. But I don't know if I would see it just because it already looks like something I've seen, which would explain your Wishmaster vibe. And I love the Wishmaster series. I actually still need to finish all of them because and I
don't think you were aware of them until I told you about them either.
No, I knew about them.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've already had like 2 and 3. I ended up giving my double feature to Jerry. But I just ended up converting them all over to Blu-ray.
Yeah, I'm kind of iffy on this one. I mean, when I first saw the demon, I thought it was a mummy. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how Wishmaster meets a ghost story, you know? So, it's going to be really...
I want to ask you now, how the hell did you get a mummy vibe out of this?
I have no idea. I looked at it, and I'm like, what? Must have been I don't know.
It's the urine, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm willing to give it a try. Like, I'm willing to, watch all the other films that we've discussed in this segment. Like, I'm willing to give it a try just to, say that I at least watched it once. And I'll give my, final verdict on it after I've watched it. But I'd rather see for myself just if it's any good or not. And if not, then I can just cross it off the list and say, well, hell, I tried.
So, heading back into the topic of the whole console future of being a gaming service type bullshit. So another thing that was really interesting that the article suggests, which I kind of find their wording a little bit kind of stupid, so bear with me on this. The article's way of stating it was that this new way is, this new topic, I'm going to say, is like a quote-unquote Netflix / Spotify of games, which, in a way, to scratch what I just said and let me explain how this could be a lot more sense from an email I recently got. And Tristan can back me up on this because I even told him about it. The email states, so if you actually sign up for Spotify Premium, which is like $10 a month, not only will you have access to unlimited music on Spotify, but now you will be granted the access of Hulu. Now, I know Hulu is one of those type of streaming services where you get to plan your, or you get to pick your type of plan, where I think it's like $10 a month, $12 a month, and depending on that, it's like, do you have some ads or not really ads at all? But the way I'm looking at this is that I think this is kind of interesting how the third-party companies are teaming up, and that is like I just mentioned. So Spotify now teamed up with Hulu, and for one price, you get two services instead of paying $10 for each or $12 for Hulu. But the point is, instead of spending $20 for separately of Spotify and Hulu, you can just spend one price of $10 a month and you get Spotify and Hulu. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because as we were talking about, Tristan, you remember with the Halo Master Chief Collection, how Xbox was explaining people that would love to play Halo but it's not on PC could now finally get it on PC through Steam. But that's not all, ladies and gentlemen. You can now access your Xbox Live account through Steam, log in, and play Halo by using your Xbox account without having to even use a single Xbox system. So, Tristan, you brought up a point before we started this. What were you saying about this situation here?
So, my thoughts about this was now Steam's teaming up with Xbox, and they're both really popular gaming devices or like companies, whatever. And so now they're teaming up. So say you go and play Halo on Steam and you access xCloud, as they call it, you can still play your gaming file on Steam as you do on Xbox. So what I mean by that is your saved file on your Xbox should be able to play on your Steam.
Yes, exactly. And it would make complete sense, because why else would they try to announce it as an xCloud? And it's just a one way of saying, hey, look, you may not have a system, but we're going to bring you your account in a new whole way of playing games. And I think this is an interesting idea. However, see, this is where the problem becomes. Without a console, some games can't even run properly unless you have a really badass computer. Like for somebody like me who doesn't really have a badass computer, or maybe even Tristan doesn't really have a badass computer, but my point is we would need the console, because the console would have that ability to be able to play the game without having any hard time running, if that makes sense. Tristan, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be running into a wall because, say for instance, you save your file on xCloud and all of a sudden you can't find it. What happens if xCloud is just not working at all and you can't access anything? So I think that's where they're going to run into a big wall that they can't get over with. But also, it just hit me, Paul, with this is kind of like backtracking, but also with the Spotify and Hulu and now Steam teaming up with Xbox, I'm thinking maybe they're trying to promote are trying to help these companies advertise their product.
True. And I think it's more of a way to expand their products as well. Rather than having it on one system, why not, like I said, expand it out to those that would rather play on a PC rather than having to go out and buy a whole console. I think that's also another way of looking at it as well.
And also with, like I was saying, with the xCloud, and you save your stuff to it, it doesn't work. I think also what I said, it was cause them to have like a big wall because they can't get over it. And right. I think the only reason they're advertising this and making xCloud is so people would actually buy this. They're trying to advertise it so much that they're trying to sell it without even being out yet. They're making xCloud sound like this great, amazing thing, a new addition to the gaming world, and they don't even know how it works yet.
True. They might know how it works because, like I said, I mean, Steam has to have a way to allow you to log into your Xbox, but that brings into the whole Sony aspect now. As far as we know with Sony, before I go into this a little bit too far too, but just to throw it out there, we have no idea what Sony is even planning. If they even tried looking at these, if they have not looked at it, we just really just don't know. And, it makes me wonder exactly, though, how this whole Steam and Xbox thing actually works. And for people listening right now, I am looking at the Steam page for the Halo, the Master Chief Collection. And right now, it is coming soon. There is no release date whatsoever. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, I think, as we go into this, to see how exactly will Steam make it so that you log into your Xbox account in order to play Halo if you have an Xbox account, I should say.
Yeah, this is just going to be one of those things that's going to be confusing. We just got to wait and see. We got to wait it out and see.
Right. But hang on, before I lose my train of thought, Tristan. Another thing that the article mentioned is that Nintendo Switch recently did something similar like this, I guess, with, I don't know if they mean similar as in Steam or if it's Xbox and Nintendo Switch. They didn't really quite clarify, so please bear with me when I say this, but apparently Nintendo Switch mentioned something about crossing over to other platforms with the game Fortnite, I believe. So it's like a cross-play sort of deal. So if I'm understanding this could mean two different ways, because the person who wrote this article is a dumbass and doesn't really go into the clarification that well. So what I'm taking this paragraph as is that Nintendo Switch people may have been playing with Xbox players as well, if not Steam people, or if not both systems, as in Xbox and Steam.
Well, that also reminds me of a new game that just came out, Apex Legends. It's a battle royale game. It's actually very fun. I play it. I was talking to a friend of mine. He lives up in Maine. He was telling me on his PC soon, he'll be able to cross over to an Xbox or PS4. So if he's playing on his PC on Apex Legends, he can actually play with people on PlayStation 4 or on an Xbox One. So I think that's going to be a new thing as well.
Well, we have had PlayStation crossover with PC people for the game Rocket League as well, just not Xbox. So I guess my final thought for this is that I think with the way this is coming together, it's a way of expanding while being able to play with people that you normally would not have because you did not have the same exact system. That's the way I look at it. That would explain I think I mentioned it maybe in the last segment. If not, I'll just say it now. That would mention or make sense for the whole, we can play with anybody, anywhere, anytime, any platform, no matter what. And I think that's where this will come into play. I think it's a cool idea. However, I still have a bad feeling about it. Tristan, do you have anything else to say, or do you have any final thoughts? I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, my final thoughts about it is that I see a bunch of holes in the process. I mean, it's a cool idea to do all 4 systems like PC, PS4, Xbox, and just do cross-branding and play the games that you want to with your friends on different systems. I think that idea is cool. But this whole idea of, all right, let's save your game to a cloud, and then how do you know if it's going to even be there when you go back to it? So I think I'm a little bit of 50-50 right now. Like I said, I think it's a cool idea, but I see a lot of holes in the system. But we'll have to wait and see.
Coming back to gaming trailer reactions, let's start off with my first choice that I picked, and it is Unholy. And the release date for this is for the year 2019. There isn't a specific month picked for this game yet, but a brief synopsis of the game is: becomes Saida, a mother in search of her abducted child, venture through morbid streets of the last city of a dying planet. Challenge a repressive regimen under which your whole life is determined by which social caste you belong to. Save your child and find out if escape is even possible. I thought that this game was very interesting looking. When I first watched the trailer, I got a dark horror feel. And I instantly got an agony vibe from it with, a touch of Bloodborne atmospheric feel. I did get to hear like a sampling of the soundtrack, which I'm digging it. It's actually pretty cool. The environment looks amazing and well done. And personally, I can't wait to see how this game turns out. How about you fellas? What were your guys' thoughts when you first watched the trailer?
I'm excited for this game. I mean, I did a little bit of research myself because I didn't really know a lot about it, but it is going to be a combination between horror and stealth. So it's going to be one of those games where it's going to be kind of complicated, but not really. But I think this would be a game that it would be best as VR. So you experience it a lot better than you do with a controller. So, I mean, the story-wise, I hear it's actually going to be pretty good. But I think either playing it with a controller or playing it with the VR, it's going to go both ways. I think it'll be top-notch.
Yeah, as Tessa mentioned, it does give off like a agony vibe, but it almost looks like the agony game that we never actually got. Even though this doesn't look like it's full of nudity, like hell is in agony, but it's more centered, unfortunately. But there's reason behind why they had to censor some things, because otherwise the studio would be going through some more bullshit than what they already have gone through. So I respect that in a way. However, though, a couple months down the line after the original release of Agony, they actually put out a Agony unrated version, and the only way people will be able to play that on consoles if they did like a limited edition of a physical version of it, because there would be no way in hell this would be able to be available on PlayStation Store like the original is. So that the only downfall I found with Agony is that it wasn't really what we could have really gotten. To me, it was a big not failure, but a big disappointment in a way. I mean, I had a little bit of high hope for this, and what we got doesn't really necessarily feel like it worth what I backed on Kickstarter when I did back Agony. But they are making another game in the Agony universe called Succubus. So I'll have to wait and see. However, though, as for Unholy, it has a dark environment. It's very interesting as well. I do have to agree that it does feel like a Bloodborne sort of layout of a background. Which, by the way, for those that do not know right now, there is a company in the works of making a Bloodborne board game. I will try to find some information of a link for that, and I will make sure to post it in the description of this episode. So make sure, as you're listening, that you check the description for a link for the Bloodborne board game. And if I, for some reason, do not have one on there, can you please let me know, and I will definitely fix that. Anyway, going back to Unholy, I am pretty much looking forward to this. Do I have high hopes? Not really, because like I said, Agony had pretty high hope for me, and we ended up kind of getting shit on a little bit. So, and the sad thing about Agony 2 is that it was a team made of people that even worked on AAA games. And that's what's sad about it.
My last choice that I went with was The Lighthouse.
When you were in Mommy's tummy, Mommy's sister went to heaven. The church was filled with bright yellow lilies. And she looked at me and said she wanted to name you Lily, after the most beautiful flower she ever saw.
Lily, Lily, Lily. Daddy, do you think I'm beautiful too?
She's here.
The release date is yet to be announced. I'll give a brief synopsis on it. The Lighthouse is a uniquely crafted thriller with a glimpse into a psychotic alternate dimension. Private investigator James Irvine finds himself lured into a haunting neo-noir world in search of a missing young woman named Lily Beaumont. So, Paul and I, we've played the demo for this game, and we did commentary for it as well. When we both sat down and played through the demo, we found it was visually, it was beautiful, and the soundtrack, just don't even get me started. It's just lovely. Personally, I can't wait to dive into this game once it's released. I just think it's just overall very visually appealing, and I can't wait to see how it develops once it comes out.
Yeah, as for Tessa stating that we've done gameplay and game commentary and stuff, we've actually done like 2 videos of the Lighthouse. One of the creators actually was telling me about a secret room, and because it seemed like it wasn't working for me the way he was trying to tell me something, I didn't realize I had to be in this specific angle, and I believe I even mentioned that within the game commentary of the secret room, which apparently I was the first person to even upload a video about the secret room, which I thought was very interesting. So, yeah, I don't really know how I really think about that, but otherwise, cool, I guess. But I will have to say, too, that the soundtrack by Mimi Page is phenomenal. It's beautiful. It's haunting. It's everything we would practically want for a nice video game atmosphere, such as The Lighthouse, I think. And I definitely cannot wait for this game to come out.
Yeah, I see that this game is on Steam. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's going to be coming to Steam and consoles.
And I like the story so far. You know, I have bad hearing, so my listening to the soundtrack is kind of hard for me. Like, I pay attention to something else. The environment is what I mostly look into, and that's while I watched the gameplay trailer and watched the trailer itself, I like the environment a lot. It's very eerie. It has that kind of like, I don't know how I should word it, like that tweaky kind of environment, like kind of plays with your mind a bit. And that's what I like about it the most is, I mean, that part about it is right on point, and I'm kind of excited to see this game as well and see how it goes out.
I promise you, tonight we shall dine like kings.
But the feast isn't on your plate quite yet.
No! Go, Leon! Don't lose the scent!
This sunshine won't last long. We're lucky to be in this house.
Mother?
Shh! You are to stay here with your brother.
Move! Come on! I won't ask again. Where is your son?
Amicia!
You have no idea. Leave while you still can. Kill the sister! Take the boy alive! You must protect him.
You stupid or what? I'm not stupid!
I know you, Amicia de Rune.
Amicia, you killed him.
I didn't want to.
There's something in the ground, Amicia! I'm sorry, I'm sick.
No.
All right. So my game trailer that I pick is a game coming out on the Xbox, PlayStation, and PC in May 14th. On May 14th. There we go. Now, within a Plague Tale, I didn't just watch a regular trailer like I have, but in this type of trailer reaction, I wanted to go full-blown 16-minute gameplay of this. I wanted to see some actual gameplay to really see if it really catches my attention. Did it? Well, let's first find out what the synopsis is. So, in 14th century France, we find out that Amicia, oh man, I'm going to butcher this name already. We see that this big sister, we're just going to say, is helping her little brother on the run from soldiers trying to survive a unstoppable swarm of rats that had been caused by the Black Plague. So my initial thoughts in general before the gameplay trailer, because I don't know if Tessa or Tristan have seen the other actual trailers before maybe the gameplay, but in my first reaction of even hearing about this game, I was just more interested when I heard Black Plague. Now, because we haven't really seen too many games delve into the Black Plague, so it is very cool to see what this game can bring out. And then as soon as they mentioned the rats are part of the gameplay in a huge way, and we get to see that too, of how much these rats are vicious if you're not careful. And the gameplay even shows it. Which I will bring into it right now is that while upon watching this 16-minute gameplay, I'm going to flat out right now say I love the game mechanics. The idea of trying to survive with your little brother from the Black Plague by using anything and everything, really, if you get what I'm trying to say while explaining it, is like, so the rats hate fire, of course. So the only way you're going to get by rats is by using a torch with flames. And that comes into play a lot. Another cool thing that we see within the mechanic is a slingshot. Now, what can you do with a slingshot? Well, maybe you can use the slingshot to get those guards that you don't want around you to be the distraction for the Black Plague rats. And all you have to do is knock out the soldiers' lanterns. And once that happens, you just see the rats go to town. And that animation for the rats swarming soldiers and taking them down is goddamn beautiful. And looking at the behind the scenes of how they made the rats is just phenomenal and cool at the same time. So real quick, I like the idea of rats as the enemy, and it's something we haven't really seen a while, actually, I don't even think it ever. And the last thing I will state is that the sounds and the soundtrack, from what I can hear, and just the graphic alone is gorgeous. And I think it's gonna shine, I don't want to say light, but in a way it's like light into the Black Plague of what has happened within the real world of the world. Yeah.
Well, when I sat down and I actually watched the gameplay for this, I thought that the look of this game was just awesome. The mechanics look smooth, right down to the swarm hive-like activity of the rats. This game just looks visually pleasing to the eyes. It looks like it has a good storyline, gorgeous atmosphere. And from what I heard, the soundtrack sounds amazing too. Even the sound effects for the game are spot on. I'm actually looking forward to this game, and Paul and I, we've actually been keeping up with the development of it. How about you, Tristan?
I'm really digging this game so far. I mean, I saw the gameplay trailer and the trailer itself, so I can get a better look at it. And Paul took the words right out of my mouth. This is the first time that we've seen actually natural things that have happened be in a horror video game. Like, the Black Plague was a very scary time, and the rats don't even get me started. So I like the environment. I like how it's dark. I like how the story is so far, and I like how the only way you can keep these rats away is by just a torch, which makes it more suspenseful. And that's one thing I like in a horror video game is the suspense. So I can't wait to try this game out myself.
So my final gameplay trailer, or game trailer, because, we were just talking about gameplay trailer, so now let's go back to an actual game trailer. That's even if you want to call it a trailer. And this trailer is called The Doll's Island.
Peggy 18.
The raindrops pelted my helicopter windshield like a nagging wife whose husband gave her deaf ears. I hated the rain. I hated Mexico. I hated Latin America. Picking Mexico as a vacation spot was my wife's idea. She wanted to see the beauty of Mexico. Me, on the other hand, I wanted to go to the US of A. I was thinking of moving some businesses there. I could faintly see the outlines of Lake Xochimilco as the main rotor droned on. This helicopter was my most treasured possession. It gave me the luxury of escaping from everything, and just being in the air to clear my head.
My alarm started sounding off. I looked at my radar. I was losing altitude and fast. It was as if there was an unseen hand dragging down my copter. And before I could gather my thoughts and radio in on my situation, tree branches were the only thing I could see on my windshield as the helicopter crashed to the ground, and I blacked out. I had heard of Isla de las Muñecas from a YouTube documentary. In English, it meant the Island of Dolls. It used to be a tourist attraction some years back, but now it was deserted. I wonder what kind of sadistic people would want to see an island filled with decapitated dolls.
It's an upcoming video game from a studio called Red Umbrella Games, and this is the synopsis. I have no fucking idea. There's nothing on the game whatsoever. I cannot find anything about it. recently until now. And this game has a very lengthy synopsis. And so I'm going to just read a little bit because this is, like I said, ridiculous. Anyway, so the game synopsis to the Doll's Island is as follows. The raindrops belted my helicopter windshield like a nagging wife whose husband gave her deaf ears. I hated the rain. I hated Mexico. I hated Latin America. Picking Mexico as a vacation spot was my wife's idea. She wanted to see the beauty of Mexico. Me, on the other hand, I wanted to go to the United States of America. I was thinking of moving some businesses there. I could faintly see the outlines of some lake, because I am not going to pronounce this lake right, the main rotor droned on, my bad. This helicopter was my most treasured possession. It gave me the luxury of escaping from everything and just being in the air to clear my mind. My alarm started sounding off. I looked at my radar. I was losing attitude and fast. It was as if there was an unseen hand dragging down my copter, and before I could even gather my thoughts and radio in on my situation, tree branches were the only thing I could see on my windshield as the helicopter crashed to the ground, and I blacked out.
So dramatic.
I had heard of Isla de las Monarchas from a YouTube documentary. In English, it meant the Island of Dolls. It used to be a tourist attraction some years back, but now it was deserted. I wonder what kind of sadistic people would want to see an island filled with decapitated dolls. I tried to gather my thoughts, literally, as in my head was banging with a migraine. I looked around and didn't expect what I got. The dolls looked even scarier on the ground. Most of them had eyes. It was as if the soulless eyes watched your every move, waiting for you to let your guard down. Dolls were littered everywhere, on the trees. Some were hung. Others were pinned and nailed in different positions. The island caused my bones to shake. I had this cold feeling I could not shake. What? I was beginning to lose the light of day, and hunger was beginning to gnaw at my stomach like an unsatisfied slave master. I had tried to radio to the nearest tower, but I couldn't get any signal. This wasn't how I planned to spend my day, trapped in a creepy island without any knowledge of the terrain. My military background kicked in. I knew I had to find high ground for me to camp and wait out the night. I ravaged through my things in the helicopter, and luckily I found a lighter, 2 energy bars, and 2 glow sticks. I was grateful. It was pitch black. I couldn't see beyond my light. I started my trek towards higher ground to avoid being caught unaware by some hungry beast. I found a suitable spot to lay my head for the night. I gathered as much dry wood as I could, which was a task due to the rain in these parts. When I gathered the wood, I lit it up, and I was happy to have warmth. I was awakened from my sleep by whispers from high up in the trees, like the wind was telling tales. The whispers were followed by a loud crackle that shook me to my spine. Wait a minute. Didn't they just say that I couldn't shake? What's going on here? So, I shot straight up. My eyes cleared from sleep. I felt like there was a presence watching me. I looked to the nearest trees, and I couldn't see the dolls around me. I turned and saw fleeting shadows in the dark. A chilling wind blew through, and the fire went off immediately, and it all turned blue. And that, my friend, is the goddamn big-ass synopsis, which, can we say, like, what the hell is going on in this conversation of trying to even tell us what the hell is going on about the game? Like, holy shit. Now, what I just read from you, to you, is from their Indiegogo page, which has 23 days left and has a goal of $20,000. And we're talking about an independent company right now. I just want to point this out. A independent studio. The most interesting thing about this, not only does the plot line seem like I really want this main character to just fucking die, because he sounds like the greatest scumbag ever in a fucking horror game. Anyway, the craziest thing about this Indiegogo game, or campaign, is in order for you to even get a key on Steam or PC, wherever this is gonna supposedly come out on, you have to spend $60. $60 on an independent film. I think the most I've ever spent on an independent film is maybe like $20. Maybe a little bit more. But $60 for an indie game? What the hell? And $20,000 for a goal? What? I just can't believe this. And just for the record, for everybody knows, no, nobody had even supported this yet. It still sits at $0, and it has 23 days to go for this campaign. I honestly don't think anybody is going to pledge this, just because, like I said, who wants to spend $60 on an independent film, independent game, just to even get the game code? What type of decision making is this? A really bad one, in my own opinion. So, the only thing I can really tell you too about this Dolls Island game is that it is based off of the real Island of the Dolls. And that's as far as I can go, besides telling you, I really hope this fucking piece of shit main protagonist dies. Because clearly he does not have the right attitude to even do anything. If he just wants to bitch about everything, especially his nagging wife. So this is my final conclusion, is that as far as playing, I gotta see gameplay to know what the hell I'm looking for. I need to know what the mechanics are. I need to know, is this a first-person game? I need to know if it's a third-person game. I need to know something rather than what the trailer actually gave us, which was a bunch of environment shots trying to lead into what I fucking just read, which was about the downed helicopter catching on fire and this weird-ass cabin in the wood type thing. And it doesn't show any of the dolls. It just shows environment, a rundown crash plane, some cabin in the woods, and nothing. No gameplay. So I guess my thing is, this is what I think of it. And because of the fact that I will say this was originally planned for October of this year. However, because of Indiegogo not doing good, they have stated themselves that this game is not going to be coming out this year and that it will probably take another 2 to 3 years before we see the Dolls Island coming out.
Well, I did a little bit of research myself, and the game, like you said, Paul, I have to see a lot more of the gameplay itself to like make a decision about it. But I did a little bit of research myself, and you guys might like this. I know the Dolls Island is based off the real Dolls Island. And actually, Dolls Island is about 2 hours south of Mexico City by boat. And there's like an urban legend that goes there, and I did a little bit of research on that too. I'll send you the website, but the legend goes that mysteriously some girl was found drowned near the island, and the caretaker of the island found her, and all there was left was her floating doll. So he hung it up and he literally nailed it to a tree for her honor to keep her spirit happy. But supposedly the story goes that he's getting haunted by her. So he keeps nailing up dolls any way he can to please her soul. So it's kind of interesting. To see if they do it like that.
Yes, and I have actually heard of that folklore, which it seems really, really interesting. And if that legend is true, that this dead girl's body was found by the caretaker, then, and the only way to make her spirit happy was to get her a new doll that washed up ashore. But can you imagine, I guess the only thing the legend really, I don't think really clarified is how do we know when the spirit of the girl is actually not happy anymore with the dolls that are on the island? I don't think they actually go into that with the legend, but it is really interesting that he would continue to get dolls to please her soul. I did find that really interesting.
I honestly really don't know what to think about this trailer, honestly, besides it shows like a creepy atmosphere of a doll island, which is inspired by true events. But other than that, I'm honestly not impressed.
Well, here's a fun little fact. Well, maybe not fun, but we'll just call it a fun little fact. And that fun little fact is these guys reached out to us on Twitter. Wanted to do an interview.
Oh, yes.
And it got to the part where they got too busy that they wanted us to send them the question, and they were going to record it, and I would have to record the questions in my voice and piece it together. I'm still waiting for them to get back to me. And that was back last year in October or November, somewhere around there. I want to say October. So, what happened to them? Why they never got back to me? I don't know. But I did notice that they were looking for trailer reactions of their game. And like I said, I am not too impressed. And I don't think you guys will be either, especially if you guys want to plan on spending $60 to get a code for the game. No thanks.
Mm-mm. That'll be a hard pass for me.
So, my game trailer that I'd like to tell you guys about is Chernobylite.
It took everything from me. Everything but my life. Now, it has come back for it. Your fears. It's about how you survive them.
This is my first video game trailer. Chernobylite is a science fiction survival game developed by the Farm 51, the makers of Deadfall Adventures and Painkiller, which I've played both of those and they are amazing. The game is dated to come out sometime this year for the PC, Xbox One, and PS4. The whole basis around the game is you have to explore the radioactive areas of Chernobyl and face supernatural horrors caused by a substance called chernobylite, which chernobylite is a substance that was caused by the nuclear explosion. And it's causing all the supernatural things to happen. But anyway, the objective of the game is to find your girlfriend and figure out her disappearance. So, just so you know the gameplay and everything, Chernobylite is supposedly going to be a first-person shooter. And it's going to be open world, but it is going to be played online, and it's going to be one of those games where you have to craft things just to survive. So I'm kind of 50-50 on it right now. Like, it could go both ways. This could be very well done. Graphic-wise, so far it's pretty good. The story-wise, it sounds pretty good. But also the whole mechanics, it's going to sound kind of complicated. So I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I have to wait to see how it comes out.
First glance, when I watched the trailer for this game, is I got like a supernatural and post-apocalyptic feel. It looks like something I would play personally. It does look pretty good. So, yeah, I'm willing to give it a shot.
When I first watched this, I almost got the vibe of Metro. If anybody is familiar with that franchise or series, depending on how you want to look at it. It's almost like it's Metro, but with like a supernatural feel, which I thought was really interesting. And as much as the environment looks similar to like Metro, I actually enjoy this type of environment feel. Like, it's nice and quiet, it's nice and calm, even though it seems like it's like a post-apocalyptic type of thing, or maybe it's just not like an apocalypse type thing. I'm not quite sure, because like I said, it kind of feels like Metro, but it's almost like with supernatural. And I just feel like maybe if it's done well with Chronobite, that if it does well, this could actually maybe become its own universe, just like Metro. So, yes, I am looking forward to it.
I agree with you, Paula. I mean, I never thought about comparing it to Metro, but you make a point. So, my next game trailer I'd like to introduce to you guys is Negative Atmosphere.
Tendency termination retained.
So, Negative Atmosphere is a sci-fi horror game made by Sunscorched Studios and is also made by Unreal Engines, which is the makers of the famous Unreal Tournament series. Its release date is just like Chernobyl Light. It's still unannounced, but it will come out this year. It'll first be available on PC and Mac, and after that, with the fundings, it may come out on consoles. We're not sure. But the whole story kind of resembles kind of Dead Space. So you play as a 49-year-old combat medic named Samuel. You're aboard this spaceship named the Rosanov. Sickness breaks out on the ship, mutating the living passengers and the robots. Your objective is to face off against all the horrors in the game and escape. So, like I said, it has that Dead Space vibe, and it really resembles a lot of Dead Space, like the outbreak on the spaceship. The character you're playing as really resembles Isaac Clarke. And, all the horrors in the game resemble Dead Space. So I think the only difference between Dead Space and this game is that it has a darker feel to it. Because I've seen the screenshots of some of the gameplay, and it looks like all you have for lighting is a flashlight. So I think maybe that will make this different than Dead Space. So I think I'm willing to try it out just to see.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you that it gives off the Dead Space, even though they have stated themselves, the developers stated that they are not trying to create a Dead Space game, even though it gives off that Dead Space vibe big time, but they are not trying to make a Dead Space game. And you just can't help it but think about Dead Space. And I think that's what I like about this game, is that it made me realize how much I miss Dead Space back when it was really good, before it kind of went all shoot 'em up, like with number 3 and stuff. Even though I enjoyed number 3, but I just felt the original Dead Space will always have that place in my heart, because, I'll never forget getting home after work, back up when I used to do like second shift, get my headphones on, turn on my PS3, get the game up, put on my headphones, and really endorse the environment of Dead Space and what it was, with those dark corridors where it made you want to aim your gun while you do like a gun check or, room check, hallway check to make sure there's no creatures. And that was the fun part. Sometimes when you thought an area was clear, it was not, because zombie things of the necromorph, as they called them, just came out of walls, vents, everywhere to scare the shit out of you. And it did a good job. But I am so going to have to keep an eye on this game, because it's definitely on my list of, I need to play this goddamn game.
Upon watching the trailer for the game, I definitely agree with both you guys. It gives it a Dead Space vibe. It looks really interesting in that sense, and like Paul said, he pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. Definitely going to keep an eye on the game. It's on the list.
Yes, and for those that would like to know more too, there's actually a Patreon page for the Negative Atmosphere. So you can actually help the developers out make the game by Patreon. So, and I'm going to have to give kudos to our newly found staff member, Darsh, who made the article because, like I told the guy that we recently interviewed, Mike Schiff, that if it wasn't an email that told me that this thing existed, I would never know. So in this case, thank you, Darsh, for posting this article, because I got the email about the new post on the website, and I saw negative atmosphere, and I said, hello, what is this? So I read it, and sure enough, Dead Space is the first thing that came into my mind. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get down to the final segment of the night, finally. And that is the talk about what can we expect with Sony PlayStation. So let's get right down into it. As far as we know, we have no idea really what Sony is planning on doing with the PlayStation as of this moment. We do know, however, that Sony has, in fact, stepped down from E3 2019. With that came as a big shocker. And on top of that, as everybody should know, when it comes to Sony, they do their yearly, what do they call it? PlayStation Access, which usually happens around November, December time. They even canceled that last year on account of not having much to show. So that makes me kind of skeptical of if this is the same reason why they dropped out of E3, because they don't really have anything to really show us. I'm wondering. Or if their focus is mainly right now PS5 and they don't really want to say anything about it right now. However, though, as Tessa and I have noticed, I do not know if Tristan knows, so he can gladly shine his thoughts on it if he has anything too. But as me and Tessa know, Sony did come out with some interesting games where it involved having to use the console, which was the PS4, and you actually had to download an app to your phone in order to play the game. I forget exactly what they call it, but it's like a Go Play, or not Go Play, but something Play. I forget the name of it right now. Of how they
Play?
What?
Play?
Something like that. And it's kind of cool, but as we were kind of mentioning before about how like Xbox is trying to do Steam and how you can be able to play stuff on different devices, I'm not sure how this is going to work if this Play or whatever it's called requires both a console and your phone. As we also know, too, when it comes to something like the streaming console service, as this generation seems to be heading into, everybody should know Sony doesn't really like to do much with other platforms unless it's very small and simple, I guess, for lack of wording right now. And like, you know, we don't really see a crossover between PlayStation and Xbox where we can play with everybody. But we also saw a crossover with people from like PC and PlayStation on games like Rocket League and maybe more. But Rocket League is definitely one that I definitely know was computer. If it did work with Fortnite, I do not goddamn know, because fuck that game. I am not into that type of shit. Fortnite is not for me. I know people sometimes call it a kid's game, and other adults say it's not a kid's game. I just don't fucking care. Okay? Alright. Let's get that out of the damn way. It's a game, okay? So it's whoever the fuck wants to play it. Alright? Just like Minecraft. If you're into that bullshit, just to build and grind and whatever, then that's just, you know, that's all you. But not me. So Tristan, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh. I really don't know. I do agree with you about Fortnite. That shit's bullshit. But the whole thing about Sony dropping out of its own thing and whatever else it's called, IGN, right? Whatever.
Right.
I think, it could go both ways. Last year, Xbox and PlayStation have always been head-to-head with graphic-wise. PlayStation was always doing so good. But when Xbox One came out and PS4 came out at the same time, Xbox took the win for graphic-wise. So, there might still be a little bit of bad blood there, but I think
they just need to kiss him.
Yeah, I think all in all that if that's the reason, or if they're trying to keep the PS5 concealed, or also when you said that they didn't have much to show, maybe Xbox is winning the game wars right now. Who knows?
Well, see, that's really funny that you brought that up, Tristan, because when PlayStation announced on social media that they were stepping down from E3 this year, you know what Xbox replied back? Hey, everybody,
what's that?
What? We're going to be at E3 this year, so we will see you then. Ooh, talk about a slap in the face.
Yeah.
However,
like I said, they've always been head-to-head.
Oh, yeah. They always have been. And there's always going to probably be that bad blood until they kiss and make up. I mean, Jesus. Just who the fuck cares? Just let everybody, cross over with everybody, and then problem solved. Then we don't need to worry about this whole console gaming service bullshit, I don't think. But then again, I don't know. Even if that just became its own service, I think that would be fine. If you wanted to, because, that would require a big server to allow everybody on from different platforms. That's going to be costly. So I could see that being its own server if you wanted to, like let's say I'm on PlayStation and Tristan's on computer and Tessa's on Gaybox. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Xbox. I call it Gaybox. Maybe there's that one service that we could pay, I don't know, $10 a month for, where us three can get together on 3 different type of consoles, if you want to call PC a console, because, I know how everybody can be sometimes. But anyway, getting back on topic, spend $10 a month, and now all of us can play whenever we want together on whatever game. That's the way it should be. But it does come with a cost, maybe. And that is a very interesting part that I kind of don't agree with the wording of this article. And Tristan, you read the article, right?
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts near the end of the article when I quote, when the website itself, I believe it's them talking now, they stated their opinion, and their opinion was, and I quote, "No, physical media isn't going to entirely go away." And then in parentheses, much like it hasn't gone away with movies or music. I find that part in the parentheses completely wrong. A lot of people nowadays prefer streaming the music and streaming the movies than actually going out and buying physical copies. That's why a lot of bands nowadays are pushing the whole digital media. That's why a band that I love to listen to, that is not really metal, but is more like a classical rock. Last year, when they put out their album, it was digital only. There was absolutely no physical at all. And that saddened me. But it was their decision because of the ever-growing digital media. So Tristan, so I guess what I want to know is, when you read that, did you agree with that, or are you with me that it seemed to be not true?
I was with you on that because I even do the same thing. You know, I rather pay $10 just to listen to any song on my phone than going out and buying a physical copy just for a few songs when I can just pull it up really quick and easy.
So you're actually with them then?
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, I don't know. It's
Right.
one of those things that's very confusing.
Right, but I really think, in a way, physical media is slowly dying. And it's because, like we just stated, and just like what you stated, we can just literally sit home, become fat, and just listen to everything on our phones and buy everything on our phone, rather than getting off our lazy fat asses and going to the store and actually supporting the physical media. Yes, it can be a pain to having to leave your home and socialize with people, or you can just be like me and just be the hermit crab, go outside, just get what I went to go get, and then just fucking come back home. And that's it. Babe, now what are your thoughts on the physical media? Do you feel like physical media is dying in a slow way? Or what do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
I think that it is in fact dying out, and everybody's so freaking wrapped up in their damn phones. It's like they're becoming technological zombies, and they're not going out and doing things in the outside world anymore and contributing that way to
be in it, to be in a physical media kind of thing, or digital, yeah. Now, another thing, and my final thing here before I will state my final thoughts on this whole bullshit of the topic we just were talking about. The last thing, too, that they mentioned, which I found very interesting, because they worded it just enough, is that developers and publishers want you as part of their game long term in, quote, games as a service, unquote. Console manufacturers want you as part of their ecosystem. That means a, quote, consoles as a service, unquote, approach. They also want people to be able to have it as like their own account rather than having it on a specific device. So it almost feels like they want it to have your own account, that you can use your account on practically any device and not just one. So I guess my final thought on this is, this sounds really sketchy. If they want you to have your own account to have it be used for everything, that almost sounds familiar in a way. Like we already have something similar to this, but I can't quite point the finger to what exactly I'm trying to think of at the moment, so I can't say too much more of this. However, my final thought for the entire topic of PS5 possibly becoming a console gaming service, I'm not impressed. I don't think I'm going to be part of the PS5 generation, and I think PS4 will definitely be my last generation.
My final thoughts about it is, just all in all, it's a bad idea. It's going to be too expensive to pay for a service, to pay for online, to pay for the console. It's just going to, I bet you all that together is going to be over $600. Because usually when a new console comes out, it's like $400. So I think, I agree with Paul. I think the PS4 is going to be my last generation.
I'm gonna have to agree with you both on that. PS4 is definitely gonna be my last console that I join for the generation because the PS5 just seems fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and Tristan brought up a really interesting point, and I'm actually trying to look for something right now on PlayStation Store's website, and if I can get a quick idea of something, but I'm having trouble pulling it up, it seems like, which is interesting. Let me see here. There's gotta be a way to find this. I just gotta figure out where it is. I guess I'm gonna have to use Google. Anyway, from what I can tell you, which, like I said, we're going back to like what Tristan was bringing up. So, if we have to get a new console, or do we not have to? All right. So let's add it up. So let's say PS5 comes out, it's $400. Okay. So most of us who have tax have to pay tax. So that's going to be like $440 probably with tax. Now, PlayStation Plus went up for a year subscription of $60. Get that with tax because everything has to be taxed stupidly now. And that's already $500 right there. Now, PlayStation does have another stupid type of thing going on. And that's where I'm trying to figure out how much it is. All right, here we go. So, if you wanted to join PlayStation Plus, or sorry, PS Now, you're looking at $10 for your first month. So let's go back to what I said. We're already at $500 because, you know, we got the console and we got the PlayStation Plus. So now, if we had to pay for PS Now, which is like a streaming service for a game, that's $10 for the first month. Okay? So that's $510. But now let's back up. What if this person already used PS Now already? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that price doubles. So now, instead of spending $10 a month, you have to spend $20 a month for the PS Now service. So let's go back and do the math again. That's $520. Or if you're one of those people that like to have a year subscription, you are looking at a total of $600. That is the console, PlayStation Plus, and PlayStation Now. Holy shit. No thanks. So, like I said, I'm standing by PS4 is my last system. I would never pay anywhere for the $510 to $600 like I just mentioned. Tristan, what about you? For your final thought after what I just explained with, you know, how much it would possibly be, what do you think now?
I still stand by what I said before. It's going to be too fucking expensive. Who is going to pay over $500 for a console, a gaming service, and to play online? I sure as hell won't.
Neither will I. And Tessa, what is your final thought for this entire thing in general of what we were talking about?
That is a big fat hell no to the PS5. There's no way in hell I would ever support that. It's just crazy how much money you would have to spend.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. unless they somehow do something with third parties like Spotify and Hulu did, or maybe something. I still need to figure out what Xbox and Steam are doing to learn more about this xCloud thing and stuff like that. But we really don't know what PlayStation is working on, and I just don't know how I feel about the future of games. So, anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. This was our first topic of trying out something different while giving you guys our first impression of trailer reactions. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did enjoy, what trailer got you talking? What out of what we talked about are you more excited for? We would like to know in the comments below, or message us and let us know what you think. Share it if you like it, and if you're listening on any platform that you can rate us, rate this episode or rate us in general. Let us know how we are doing. And until next time, I was Paul Dolsky.
And I'm Tessa Baker.
And I'm Tristan Knott.
And like always, people, stay
scared.